The Igbo nation is at crossroads. It appears to be divided about what steps to take in order to end decades of oppression and marginalization by the Nigerian state. Ndigbo are faced with two options, however, only one can be agreed upon. 1. The restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra. 2. Remaining in a possible restructured Nigeria. However, we are going to highlight the reasons for the heavy disagreements and war of words between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, and Nnia Nwodo over the fate of the Igbo nation in the face of decades-old oppression by the Nigerian state. Various groups had tried agitating for the restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra for over a decade, however, they all ended up being just a ploy to get attention from politicians. Others were clueless as to what their objective was, if they ever had any. They had all been compromised and silenced at some point until IPOB came along under the able leadership of Prince Nnamdi Kanu. The IPOB leader revived the agitation with his firebrand, mind-rattling, incendiary speeches. Since then, the indigenous people of Biafra (IPOB) has become the largest freedom movement in the world and the largest pro-Biafra agitating group, numbering in their millions and scattered in over 130 countries worldwide. While Ohanaeze Ndigbo, a social-cultural group, headed by Nnia Nwodo, is tasked with the protection of the interests of the people from the southeast region Ndigbo in current-day Nigeria. In this exclusive presentation, we are going to take a look at the reasons why IPOB and Nnia Nwodo's Ohanaeze don't get along. On one end, is Ohanaeze Ndigbo leader, Nnia Nwodo, who has rejected the idea of a breakaway sovereign Biafra nation, in favor of restructuring Nigeria to true federalism. While on the opposite end is IPOB, the largest among Biafra agitating groups, calling for a totally independent Biafra nation-state, via a United Nations supervised referendum. We are going to shed some light on the rationale behind the decisions of these groups, their differences, threats, fights and their current stance. But who is Nnia Nwodo? Nnia Nwodo is a Nigerian economist, politician, and lawyer who also served as a Minister of Aviation under the administration of Shehu Shagari. He also served as Minister of Information and Culture under the government of Abdul Salami Abubakar. He currently serves as the 9th President General of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo, a socio-cultural organization that is tasked with safeguarding the interests of the Igbo nation. As the third-born male child of his family, born in 1952 in Enugu State, Nigeria. Mr. Nnia Nwodo was married to Regina Nwodo, who was a justice in the Court of Appeals of Enugu State until she passed away in 2013. The Igbo nation has long complained of marginalization by the Nigerian state. This cry of injustice and oppression started almost immediately the colonial British appeared with her gunboat diplomacy. The fraudulent and evil amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates by the colonial British was a union designed to fail from the very beginning. Soon after the British handed over to her favorite gatekeepers, trouble started. War broke out soon after in 1967 because the eastern region threatened to break off the fraudulent British arraignment. The war ended 3 years later with over 5 million Biafrans starved to death. Biafrans were forced back into Nigeria with promise of better and fair treatment, however the reverse is the case after 50+ years after the Biafra-Nigeria Civil War. The Igbo nation, which make up a bulk of the Biafran nation, has continued to point out how the Nigerian state has continued to intimidate, suppress and kill Ndigbo with impunity. Founded in 1976, Ohanaeze Ndigbo organization has done nothing to address the plight of Ndigbo outside and inside Nigeria. The Ohanaeze organization lacks the power or authority to address the cries of marginalization by Ndigbo. This is because the organization has no political power to implement reforms that will address the problems faced by Ndigbo in Nigeria. However, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu appeared to question the achievements of Nnia Nwodo's Ohanaeze Ndigbo over the years, other than running around from one business, political, or cultural event to the other. Nnamdi Kanu immediately captured the hearts and minds of Ndigbo home and diaspora as he made a convincing case as why John Nwodo's organization cannot best represent Igbo interests or guarantee security. Kanu pointed out how weak the Ohanaeze group was to advocate for Igbo interests because they all were compromised. He maintained that a sovereign Biafra state was the only way out of the situation. Unsurprisingly, this unrelenting call for Biafra was vehemently opposed by John Nwodo and Southeast politicians because of their selfish interests.
I can stand and prove who I am, but Buhari cannot do the same thing. Because the man you're looking at on the television is not Buhari. Don't you know that? His name is Jibril, he's from Sudan. After extensive plastic surgery, they brought him back, taught him Buhari's mannerisms, and he came and deceived all of you. You cannot deceive Nnamdi Kanu, you cannot deceive IPOB. You are unforgettable. It wasn't my wish to speak. But the more I keep quiet, the more they keep lying.
This call by Kanu will make them politically irrelevant in a new Biafra state, so it wasn't even an option for the corrupt Southeast politicians. Kanu was an obvious threat to the beneficiaries of the irredeemably corrupt, failed state Nigeria, where impunity, corruption, greed, wickedness, and all manner of evil atrocities reign supreme. The stance between these two groups has largely resulted in a stalemate which has become an obstacle to the Biafra restoration efforts. This selfish stance by John Nwodo not to see reason has become a stumbling block in international diplomacy because of the apparent lack of unity and ability to speak with one voice. Even though the call for restructuring has largely been ignored by the North of feudal lords and their terror alliance, John Nwodo continues to hope that somehow the northern feudal lords will wake up someday and address the restructuring call that is over 5 decades old. Moving on, the dividing line between those who favored the restructuring myth either because they had properties and investments in other parts of the country, those who are hoping to get some type of political appointments to join the dirty politics, or cowards, who would simply die in slavery than fight for freedom. They make up a small minority of 15%. While on the other side is 85% majority of Ndigbo, with the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, that want nothing to do with the name, Nigeria. When IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi first appeared on the scene with a message of freedom for all, championing a call for a sovereign Biafra state via a referendum, he wasn't taken seriously. Most politicians thought he was just like one of such hungry agitators they had seen in the past. However, when Kanu was released on bail from Kuje prison, Abuja, the political class thought that would be enough to silence him just like previous agitators, but they were very wrong. The Igbo nation made a clear statement when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu ordered a sit-at-home remembrance day for all Biafra heroes. No one was to carry out their usual commercial activities to mourn the loss of millions of Biafrans who fell victim to the genocidal war on Biafrans by the Nigerian state with the collaboration of the British. The compliance was overwhelming to the so-called Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Fulani cabals and Southeast Igbo governors. It became clear to the world that IPOB had total control of the whole of Biafraland. He continued to command peaceful protests demanding a referendum date for Biafrans to decide their fate. This sit-at-home compliance level was so high which shocked the self-styled elders, elites, governors and Ohanaeze Ndigbo. They now started to see Kanu as a potential threat when they realized he wasn't gonna compromise like those before him. This panic forced Northern Arewa youths to issue a 3-month quit notice to all Igbos living and doing business in the north, asking them to leave or face consequences. The northern youths had threatened to confiscate their investments and properties should they support IPOB's campaign for a sovereign Biafra nation. Meetings were held to convince Kanu to drop his no-election stance. Talks appeared to be going well and they scheduled another meeting to finalize details. Kanu agreed to drop the order if his conditions, which reflected the wishes of the majority of Ndigbo, were met. However, subsequent meetings never took place because, on September 10, 2017, the Nigerian president sent the Boko Haram-infested Nigeria army to assassinate the IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, under some kind of military exercise termed Operation Python Dance.
Okay. You can hear shots being fired. They are shooting aimlessly. They are shooting and killing our people.
The military failed the assassination attempt of the IPOB leader, killing dozens of unarmed Igbo civilians and properties worth millions destroyed in the process. Approved by Mr. John Nwodo, Southeast Igbo governors and politicians, the Federal High Court in Abuja went ahead and labeled IPOB a terrorist organization on the 18th of September 2017. IPOB has continued to fight against this proscription, but with a seriously compromised Southeast politicians, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, and a corrupt judiciary run by Sharia law judge, Tanko Muhammad, the airplane technician, there's no hope for anyone seeking any form of justice in the country. With allegations of Biafra sabotage and conniving with the Nigerian government to assassinate the leader of IPOB, Chief John Nnia Nwodo was a victim of consistent harassment by pro-Biafra protesters at almost any event he attended. In one of such events called Handshake Across the Niger event in Enugu, Nwodo was smuggled out the venue through the kitchen by 6 bodyguards. He narrowly escaped angry Igbo women waiting to lynch him for his role in Operation Python Dance. In what appeared to be a desperate move to regain relevance, Nwodo went as far as stating categorically that he would sabotage Biafra. That pissed off a lot of Biafrans. Here is the video clip of the event at National Stadium, Lagos.
On Ivory Coast, West Africa. Tere aka ndị Gabon gbara onye bụ president ba akwụkwọ si na ọ ma achịkwa na ọ bụ onye Igbo na ndị abụ bongo no adopt ife ji akọrọ akụkọ a bụ onye Igbo ọhụrụ asịsị wetakwara ya n'obodo a mụnwa bụ Nnia Nwodo ga-abụ Sabotage
IPOB wasted no time to react to the unguided utterance made by Mr. John Nwodo. In a statement issued by the spokesman of IPOB, Comrade Emma Powerful, he stated, "Such a statement coming from the leader of Ohanaeze Ndigbo group is a clear demonstration that our clamor for freedom, which is presently resonating all over the world, is of no concern to these unrepentant Fulani slaves." The IPOB leader surfaced a year later to reinforce the allegations of Biafra sabotage on Mr. John Nwodo. However, he denied all allegations, including playing any role in Operation Python Dance, in his subsequent letter to Ndigbo. John Nwodo accused the IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu of not understanding, nor does he appreciate how the system worked. Mr. Nwodo, who had been at the receiving end of verbal attacks from IPOB, blamed Kanu for threats he receives both online and offline. In a desperate attempt to sound rational, Mr. Nwodo challenged Nnamdi Kanu to provide one single evidence of his involvement in conspiring Operation Python Dance. He said he was pretty confident no reasonable Igbo man believes Kanu. This statement shows how confused the man has become. This back and forth between the two camps quickly exposed the facade Ohanaeze Ndigbo organization is. It is a political arraignment meant to achieve one purpose only: Fulani domination. When is John Nwodo going to start advocating for the protection of Igbo lives wasting away in prisons all over the world? It doesn't look like that's ever gonna happen in current or a restructured Nigeria. Ohanaeze must tell us how his restructuring will prevent the hordes of Fulani terrorists from entering Biafra territory under one restructured Nigeria. When is Ohanaeze Ndigbo going to Libya to advocate for the freedom of our Igbo brothers and sisters sold into slavery? John Nwodo's Ohanaeze claim to protect Igbo businesses is a blatant lie because Igbo interests are frequently attacked within and beyond the borders of the country. One could argue that Igbo business interests are most endangered in the current One Nigeria arrangement. You know that most of the Igbo people are traders. They import various goods from all over the world only to be seized by Janjaweed agents, the later sold at the black market. If you manage to clear customs at the point of entry, then 120 extortion checkpoints are lined up on the way to the southeast, manned by criminals in state uniforms are waiting to squeeze every dime from you. A deliberate plan by the Nigerian authorities to frustrate doing business in the region. How about the killings going on in Biafraland today? Our people are dying daily. All we get from John Nwodo's Ohanaeze Ndigbo is a deafening silence. Isn't it clear that only a true and independent Biafra nation-state could truly care and protect Igbo and Biafrans' interests worldwide? Igbo interests go beyond a hotel in Lagos or a bakery in Abuja. Ndigbo will not continue waiting for restructuring till heaven knows when. Meanwhile, Fulani's building mosques and settling down in Biafraland. The time for restructuring is long gone. Either Biafra or restructuring to true federalism looks like two sides of the same coin as far as the North is concerned. You neutralize their grip on the military and security forces, which is an essential tool of oppression and intimidation. You take the oil wells that make a bulk of their income, they become irrelevant. Restructuring to the regions will not address the influx of Fulani terrorists into southern territories, not while it is still one Nigeria. So, Ohanaeze Ndigbo must drop her selfish political ambitions explained as protecting Igbo interests and realize that for the North, it's one Nigeria or nothing, and for the majority of Ndigbo, it's Biafra or nothing. Biafra restoration is a no-brainer solution unless you are severely compromised, and yes, the entire Southeast political class is neck-deep in corruption. Nigeria has rendered almost everyone wretched, hungry and useless. Like in this video. Just look at them. Sharing and counting profits made from sabotaging and selling their people to the enemy. The treachery of this crop of Igbo leaders is an open secret. These greedy and power-hungry slaves are always trying to outdo each other just to please the northern oligarchs to satisfy their selfish objectives. In conclusion, the Ohanaeze Ndigbo led by John Nwodo has no agenda for Ndigbo. John Nnia Nwodo is willing to dismiss the very thing his friend and 5 million other Biafrans died for, just to satisfy his business, political agenda, hopefully in 2023. While Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's IPOB continues to make a very clear-cut case why Biafra is the ultimate solution out of the useless colonial experiment. In reality, the Igbo nation was never at a crossroads, as the case may be. The majority of Ndigbo know exactly what they want. A complete and independent Biafra nation, and not the satanic colonial creation by a British whore and his white supremacist boyfriend. Nnia Nwodo is entitled to his selfish objectives. He is the only person who knows the motives for his "restructure Nigeria" rhetoric, which has nothing to do with the future of Ndigbo. The Ohanaeze chief wants to have his share of the national cake before the contraption is destroyed. After all, he has nothing to gain from a new Biafra nation. The current crop of Igbo politicians, elders, elites, clergymen, traditional leaders are not only compromised beyond belief but also very proud to show just how useless they have become. If someone out there is looking for a solid proof that foolish, selfish, criminals, greedy and wicked people do grow old, look no further. Nigeria, especially the southeast political class, are a bunch of useless, greedy, selfish, and power-hungry proud saboteurs. This outdated idea of imposing the will of a few selfish individuals over the majority of the Igbo population won't fly in this era. The Igbo nation has had enough of these sellouts and their hopeless "One Nigeria" mess. Despite their shortcomings, IPOB led by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has continued to be the voice of the voiceless majority. This is why they must be supported by every well-meaning and rational Biafran. The North will never accept to restructure the country because that would nullify the long-held agenda of dipping the Quran in the sea. Biafrans will reject any flimsy adjustments made in the name of restructuring. There is a huge chance that the North may end up a failed state for decades. The North remains the poorest and underdeveloped despite controlling all the country's resource wealth for 50+ years. It's not hard to guess what that part would look like after taking away their only source of easy oil and gas money. John Nwodo must come to terms with reality before it is too late. IPOB will not sit and watch as the lives of millions of Ndigbo are endangered because Nnia Nwodo is hoping to cash out in the event of a 2023 Igbo presidency. That will never happen. Do you have any contrary opinions of anything said in this presentation? Present your arguments in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe and notifications button to get regular updates.